Good morning. We are starting today's class in extended child's pose. So you're going to take your knees as wide as comfortable for you. Sometimes that can be as wide as the edges of the mat. Sometimes it's nice to take them in closer and your big toes or feet to touch. And then crawl the upper body down on the mat, lowering your chest down, reaching your arms out, maybe lowering your head to the mat. You can always use a block or blanket underneath the head to give it support if you'd like to be a little higher up. Let your hips drop down towards your heels, creating space in your shoulders, along the spine, and your hips. Close your eyes and allow your attention to go inward. See if you can make the length of your inhales match the length of your exhales. I invite you to set an intention for today's practice, even if it's just to be present. Slowly lift the hips, coming forward, finding tabletop position. Hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. If you have wrist problems, you can step your hands out a little bit to decrease the angle in the wrist. We're going to do some cat-cow, so on an inhale, drop the belly, curling the tailbone up to the sky, lifting the chest and the gaze, rolling open through the shoulders. And then exhale, tuck the tailbone, lifting the belly and the spine upwards, roll your shoulders forward. It can feel really good to kind of rock forward and back here, especially with this first one. I love to do that. And then begin to find a pace moving at your own breath. Inhaling, you curl that tailbone, drop the belly, lift the gaze. And then exhale, finding that cat back, like a Halloween cat. You can rock side to side here as well. We're just waking up the wrists and the spine. Especially morning practices, listen to your body. Take the small movements that it's telling you it needs. And then finding a stillness, coming to a neutral spine. You're going to shift the weight into your right hand and inhale your left arm up to the sky, finding a twist. See if you can keep your hips level. And then kick your right foot towards the outside edge of your mat and reach your left foot out. So we're finding a supported side plank here. Trying to get the full sole of the left foot down onto the mat. Arm is reaching overhead. See if you can stack those shoulders by drawing the left shoulder back on top of the right and not just pushing your right shoulder forward. We don't want to lose that stability of the shoulder being stacked over your right hand. And then reach your left arm up overhead, feeling that stretch all along the left side body. Again, pressing into the knife edge, the outside edge of your left foot. And then take your left hand down to the mat. Bring your left knee back in, finding that tabletop again. Bring the right leg to match. Let's cat-cow one more time, taking 2 or 3, moving at your own pace. And then on your next neutral, step your hands one hand width forward, a little bit more if you'd like. We're just going to create some space so that we can move our hips around. So I want you to make really big hip circles, drawing them all the way back over your heels, far out to the side, lowering them down, maybe even getting a little of a wrist stretch when we come forward. It's always good to warm up the joints, but especially with a morning practice, and then reverse direction. And then coming to stillness. Bring your hands back into the tabletop that feels comfortable for you. And we're going to inhale the right arm up to the sky. Again, trying to keep your hips level to the mat, finding this twist through the spine. And then kick your left foot out towards the side edge of your mat, reaching your right leg out long, finding a supported side plank. Stacking your shoulders on top of each other, lifting up through those hips. Gaze can be up to the ceiling or down to the mat. And then reach your right arm overhead, extending through that right side body. Take your right hand down to the mat. Bring your legs back in to find tabletop. And then drop your hips, coming to extended child's pose. This time, once you make it all the way down, try reaching your arms behind you such that your hands fall somewhere by your feet. And see if you can release any tension in the shoulders and neck. You can always use a blanket or a pillow or a block underneath your head if this is too much. And then reaching the arms forward again, finding your way to tabletop. We're going to do a puppy pose. So you want to try to keep your hips stacked over your knees. Your back toes can be tucked or pointed, whatever's comfortable for you. But we're going to walk our upper body out just like we do in child's pose. Lowering down as low as feels comfortable for you. Make sure you engage that core. So we don't want to just find this flexibility. If you have a super flexible spine like mine in the lower back, we don't want to find it there. You want to engage that core and see if we can find it in between your shoulders and upper back. Actively pressing your shoulders down towards the mat. If you're more advanced, you can start to lift your gaze and lower your chest. Maybe taking your chin to the mat. It's definitely a pose you breathe in. And then crawling all the way forward. Lowering onto your belly. Toes pointed. You can bring your legs together if you would like. Hands by your chest area. And we're going to draw the shoulder blades back together to lift the upper body. Hands can hover maybe even above the mat. It's okay if you'd like to take them down onto the mat for a little bit of support. If you feel that there's any tension in your spine instead of elongating, give it a try. Lower your hands down and give it a light press so that you can lift out of your spine. And then lower your head down to the mat. Take your hands underneath your shoulders, and we're going to lift up into a cobra. So our upper body's peeling up, and I only want you to go as high as it feels like you're finding space in your spine. If you go up too high, you'll feel a crunching and compressing in your lower back. We don't want that. We only want you as high as you can draw yourself out of it. So I am pulling my chest forward through my arms, actively drawing my elbows back towards the body, pressing into my thighs and the tops of my feet. And then exhale over down. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, peeling the chest up, moving nice and slow. Reaching your max and holding there, making any small adjustments to clarify the pose. And then lower it down. We're going to do that 1 more time, pressing into those hands. Lift up the body. Peeling the spine up. And then exhale, lower down. We're headed to downward dog, and you can either just meet there or, if you want a little bit of a challenge, tuck under your toes, placing your arms underneath your shoulders. See if you can keep your body in one long line, and press up to plank pose. Option to press up just to a knees dropped supported plank. Wherever you're at, you want your hips in line with your body, so one long line. We don't want our booty up or our booty down. We want to be a straight line. Puff up through the shoulder blades. If you're up on your toes, press back through the heels. Lifting the backs of the legs, engaging your core, creating some heat in the body. This is actually a really good pose for your posture and a general great ab routine. We're staying here just a little bit longer. Challenge yourself. See if you can make it. And then draw the hips up and back. Finding that first down dog. So taking any adjustments you might need, maybe adjusting your stance. Can pedal into that dog. Walking out the backs of the legs. Arms are rolling out to the outside edges of the mat, elbows dropping downward. Or elbows pointed downward. And then finding neutral with a generous bend in the knees. Look up towards the top of your mat. And slowly step your feet, walking them behind your wrists. Feet are about shoulder width apart. Upper body just drapes over those thighs. Again, you can have a really generous bend in the knees. We don't want to strain the lower back. This is about stretching things out, not straining. Grab onto opposite elbows. Taking ragdoll. Shift the weight into the ball mounts of your feet so that you could lift your heels if you wanted. You can either stay here in stillness. You can sway side to side. Or bob up and down. Whatever releases your spine today. Maybe close your eyes. Concentrate on your breath. See if you can bring those inhales to match the exhales. Or find a rhythm at least to the pacing of your breath. Whenever I find my mind wandering, I literally just think, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. And then taking your hands to your shins or your thighs or as high as you need to go, lift to find a flat back. We're halfway lifting. So one long line from the tailbone out through the crown of the head. This is a very strong hamstring stretch. Don't fully lock out your knees. We always want to have just a little micro bend in them so that we're protecting the knee joints. Gaze is down at the mat, maybe even a little bit back towards your toes so that there's that length in the back of the neck. And then exhale, forward fold, melting over the legs. Inhale, halfway lift, finding that flat back. Pressing through the backs of your legs to really enhance the feeling of this stretch and the length of the spine. And then forward fold. This time we're going to roll up one vertebrae at a time. Finding your way to standing. When you get to the top, You can shrug your shoulders up to your ears and drop them down your back. Taking some little shoulder rolls, and then we'll go the opposite direction. Bring them forward and down, and then one more time, just down the back. Great job. Inhale your arms up overhead, palms facing each other. Close your eyes. Ground through your feet, feeling all four corners of both feet grounding into the mat evenly in your weight. And then exhale, taking your hands to your side. You can blink your eyes back open if you'd like. We're going to cross our left foot over the right. Keep your left hand on your hip and inhale your right arm up and over. Feeling a stretch all along that right side. And then inhale both arms up. This time take your right hand to your hip and reach your left arm up and over. Come back to center. Bring your palms together, draw them through heart center, and forward fold over your legs. You can bend into those knees to create space. Again, we don't want to strain in that lower back. But this can feel really good on the outside of that left hip, or right hip, sorry. We're mirrored. And then taking your hands down to the mat, uncross your feet, and this time cross the right foot in front. And forward fold. Again, you can bend into those knees, totally cool. Feel a stretch on the outside of the left hip. Engaging your core, roll all the way up to standing. Arms can come above you. Take the right hand to the right hip. Inhale that left arm up and over. And engaging the core, coming back to center, switching the hands. Take the left hand to the hip and reach the right arm up and over. And then inhaling, coming back to center. Uncross your legs. Bring your feet and legs together. We're going to sit low through the hips, finding chair pose. So you want to keep the weight in the back of your heels and tuck your tailbone under so that we're not duck butting. Engage that core. Palms can face each other above the head. Again, shifting that weight back so that you can see your toes. Maybe sit a little bit lower. And then exhale, forward fold. Plant your hands and step your left foot back. Drop the left knee down, finding a low crescent. Your back toes can be tucked or pointed, whatever feels good for you. And then engage your core to lift your upper body. You want to feel your legs scissoring together. That's going to give you a nice firm base. And you can inhale your arms up overhead. Palms facing each other. Bring your palms together. Draw them to heart center in prayer pose. You can stay here, or option to turn towards your right and then tuck the outside edge of your left elbow to the outside edge of your right foot or right knee. I like to take my hand to assist me, so I take my right hand to push my right leg in to get the left arm out, and then I bring them back to prayer pose and find that twist. Shifting your gaze behind you, dropping through the hips. And then inhale, undoing the twist, coming back to center. Arms can come up to the air. And then exhale, draw the hips back, straightening through the front leg, flexing the front toes. We're in Hanumanasana prep, half splits. You can always use a block or a chair to stay up higher if you need to here. And then dropping your booty down to that back heel, untucking it if you have it tucked. Sliding the heel in so that we can make space to move. You're going to take the sole of your left foot to the inside of the right thigh. Take your hands down to the mat to square yourself off to that right leg. And then walk your hands out on either side of the right leg, lowering down wherever you find yourself today. Slowly rising up. Take your left foot and cross it over the right leg, planting it on the outside edge of that right thigh. Hug the knee into the chest. Take your left hand behind you. On an inhale, sit up really tall. And then exhale, look over that left shoulder, finding a twist. Take your gaze to the front of the mat. Undo your legs. Roll over, finding yourself into a tabletop. And you can either meet in down dog or come to plank with me and do a little vinyasa. We're going to chaturanga to up dog to down dog. So first finding your plank, shifting the weight forward, bending through the elbows, dropping that chest down. Untuck the toes, lift the chest up, finding upward dog. And then exhale, draw the hips up and back. Downward dog. Bend generously through the knees, look up to the hands and walk your feet forward. Finding a forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift, finding the straight spine. And then exhale, plant your hands and step the right foot back, dropping the right knee down to the mat. We're going to take that same series on the opposite hip now. Engaging your core, you can lift your upper body up. Arms come up overhead, palms facing each other. Bring your palms together, draw your hands to your heart, finding prayer pose. Again, you can stay here if you'd like to try the twist. Turn to your left. Take the outside of that right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Again, I like to use my hand to assist. And then I find my way back to prayer pose. Pressing into the hands to make the twist just a little bit deeper. And slowly coming back to center. Arms up overhead, palms facing each other. Drop your hands down to the mat, shift those hips back. Straightening through the front leg, flexing through the front toes. We're finding Hanumanasana prep, half splits. You might find some days this pose is easier and other days it's harder. We hold a lot of tension and emotions in our legs and hips. That's totally normal. And dropping the hips down towards that back heel, untucking the toes if you have them tucked. Slide the foot out and take the right sole of your foot to the inside of the left thigh. Hands to the side to twist your body so that you are squared off towards that left leg before then crawling down over it, finding yourself melting wherever you are today. See if you can allow your breath to help you release any tension you're holding on to. And slowly walking the body up. We're going to take that right sole of the foot, cross it over the left, planting it to the outside of the left thigh. Hug the knee into the chest. Take your right hand behind you on an inhale, sit up really tall, and exhale, draw your gaze over that right shoulder. Make sure you're pressing into the big toe of the right foot to make sure that that sole is staying grounded on the mat. Then draw your gaze to the front of the mat. Uncross your legs. Take the soles of your feet together. You can keep them either close to you or a little further away. And then rock side to side, moving any of the booty flesh out from underneath you so that your sit bones can actually make it down to the mat. I got a lot of flesh there. I don't know about you, but hands can grab onto the leg or onto the feet. Inhale, draw your chest through so that we have a really nice long straight spine. And then exhale, melt over the legs. Dropping to just wherever your body falls with gravity and not forcing anything in that back. On your next inhale, straighten out that spine, lifting your gaze and your chest. Exhale, fold over the legs. Inhale, straighten the spine, lift the gaze and the chest. Exhale, fold. One more time, inhale, straighten through that spine, lift your chest and your gaze. Exhale, melt and fold. Sometimes doing that wave with the spine can help you find a deepness in the stretch you hadn't expected. Just make sure you're staying within your healthy edge. And slowly walking the hands back. Cross your legs. You can put a blanket or a pillow under your hips if you need to. Hands come to prayer pose. Close your eyes. Grounding into this present moment. Feeling your hips, feeling your feet, feeling where you connect to the mat, to the ground. Making any adjustments so that you are sitting in a very upright position. Maybe you take those shoulders up to your ears one more time and drop them down the back. pinching the shoulder blades together. Make sure that core is engaged and the tailbone slightly tucked so we aren't duck butting in our seated pose. Reaching the crown of the head up towards the ceiling so we have space in our neck and our spine. Some of these moves don't feel like you're changing anything, but even just consciously thinking of them, you're actually making a little bit of space in your spine. I want you to think about the intention you set for today's practice and the fact that you've now started your day in a beautiful way, giving your body this lovely gift. Thank you so much for joining me on the mat today. Taking your thumbs to your third eye, sealing our practice with a bow. Namaste. Have a wonderful day.